This week on Motor Week, sleek, beautiful and desirable, the Volvo C70 and Ginny Buckley. Chris Goffey discovers the delights of the VW Synchro system, and more on seat comfort from Terry Moule, orthopaedic expert.
There are lots of good reasons to drive a Volvo. Sensible reasons, like safety, comfort and reliability. But looks, forget it. You buy a Volvo in spite of, and not because of its looks. Don't you? Well, not anymore. Say hello to the C70 Coupe, a sexy Volvo with swoopy lines. A car that's billed as the Volvo you want, not the Volvo you need. It's fair to say that this is the first new, truly desirable Volvo in over 20 years. Its designer, Peter Aubrey, was given a blank sheet of paper to design the kind of car that he'd like to cruise in. It's a coupe to rival the best of the bunch, a car with sex appeal, one with the style you'd expect from something that claims to be a genuine Gran Turismo. The Gran Turismo had its heyday in the 1950s. It was a car to carry you and your luggage to your villa in the south of France in comfort, style and elegance. A car that made the journey every bit as enjoyable as the arrival. So, can the C70 live up to that reputation? Or will it just leave you longing for the end of the road? Costing just over £30,000 in its basic form, the full name is the C70 T5. And the T in the 5 lets you know that there's something quite special underneath the bonnet. This 2.3-litre 250 brake horsepower engine first appeared in the 850 T5, where it got a reputation for amazing performance, and there's no reason why it won't be just as hot in this incarnation. As soon as you get in and turn the engine over, you're greeted by a rich, throaty welcome. You can get from 0 to 60 in around 7 seconds, and believe me, you'll have no problems overtaking in the C70, not with a top speed of 155 miles per hour. Now that's an awful lot of power for a front-wheel drive car to handle, but thanks to a collaboration between Volvo and the Formula One engineers TWR and their work on the chassis, the C70 has no problems in handling it all. It may be sporty, but the ride doesn't feel too hard. It holds the road beautifully and gives you plenty of grip through the bends. The steering feels taut and it feels direct. All in all, it's a driving experience to make you smile. On the road, the C70 is definitely a real head-turner. It may not be the prettiest of coupes, but the muscular swooping lines are very attractive. It's fresh and sharp, and it's still a Volvo. And the inside also reflects that heritage. The layout in here is almost identical to that of the S and the V70. It isn't flash and it certainly isn't trendy. What it is simple, well laid out, and it has a quality feeling. It feels rather expensive. The wooden dash trim is part of a £5,000 GT pack which is fitted to this vehicle, and that's crammed full of all manner of goodies, things like electric heated seats, climate control and even an onboard computer. And if you were to head off on your grand tour of Europe in the C70, you'd have plenty of room. There's enough space in here to seat 4 adults comfortably. There's plenty of head and leg room. And there's lots of space in the back for all the luggage. The backseat passengers may not relish the thought of spending hundreds of miles sat in the back of here, but it's far more comfortable than most in its class. Volvo have gone all out to make you feel emotional about the C70. It's certainly the most desirable Volvo we've seen in a long, long time. It's not the most powerful coupe on offer, nor is it the most graceful, but it is the kind of car that you'd be very happy to live with. It's enjoyable to drive, you feel relaxed behind the wheel, and you travel in comfort. Yep, I reckon the C70 can genuinely stake its claim as a real Gran Turismo and not just a saloon posing in a new suit of clothes.
First chance to try out the new Volkswagen 4Motion transmission comes on these billiard table smooth roads around the Nürburgring circuit, and initial impressions are very good. It feels very smooth and well balanced and poised, no hint of wheel spin even in some of the wet conditions we had back there, and reassuring levels of grip. But with this much rubber on the road, you'd expect it. This is the Golf V5 6-speed manual gearbox and the 150 brake horsepower 5-cylinder engine. And to be perfectly honest, you wouldn't know it was four-wheel drive. So what's new about the car? Well, instead of the viscous coupling they used on the old Syncro, this has got a multi-plate clutch on the back axle, and it's controlled by a computer. The computer senses everything that's going on in the car, how hard you're cornering, how much grip you've got on the road, how much throttle you've got on, and it automatically balances the car by shifting grip from the rear to the front axle. They say it's a truly intelligent four-wheel drive. Volkswagen chose the environs of the famous Nürburgring racing circuit to launch several new engine and drivetrain improvements for their 1999 model year. Now, these included a new four-wheel drive transmission, the ESP, Electronic Stability Program to you and me, and a new diesel engine which uses very high pressure fuel injection to achieve remarkable torque figures. And they also introduced us to some test drives on various slippery surfaces to show just how good these new transmission and stability programs really are. Interesting little demonstration. As the guy comes over the plate, it moves and throws the car sideways. How does ESP cope? Well, look at that. With the ESP switched off, just look what happens. Now, this is Volkswagen's new diesel engine in the Passat. On paper it doesn't look that impressive. The power goes up to 115 brake horsepower from 110 brake horsepower, but more significant is a substantial increase in torque, and that means the car pulls far better in the lower gears, and you don't have to rev the engine round to the 4,500 red line to get real performance. It does it at 2,500–3,000 revs. The advantage of this very high pressure injection system is that you're able to put more fuel into the engine at mid-range, and therefore you've got more energy to convert into forward motion. But despite that, it's more economical than the old unit. You figure it out for yourself.
After the break, more on how to drive more comfortably, plus the luxurious Lexus and the upgraded GS300.
Now, you probably recently saw on Motor Week Howard Stapleford's features on vehicle orthopaedics and how to achieve the best driving position. Now, it just so happens that our editor here on Motor Week is a long-term back sufferer, and don't we know about it? And this is what he uses all the time, this famous back roll, which has been literally all the way around the world. But is this any good in the car? Is it doing him any good? Well, joining me is Terry Moule, an expert on vehicle orthopaedics. Terry, is this sort of thing any good to ease your back problems in the car?
In a word, no.
And why is that?
Because it pushes you too far forwards wherever you put it. You can't consistently get in the same place because it moves around as you do, and that amount of pressure is unnecessary. It may cause a temporary relief for a long-term increase of the problem.
So how would you achieve the perfect driving position then?
By adjustment, by using the car seat available, and by making sure the driver knows about exercise at regular intervals and how to use all the features in the car effectively.
And what would you describe as the perfect driving position? Is it a very angled back or laid back?
No, it's where you have the ability to work the pedals without levering over the front of the seat or being too far away so that you're stretching for the pedals, and where you're sitting at an angle where your shoulders are supported, your lower back is following the curve of the seat because of gravity pushing you onto it, and you can reach the wheel comfortably with your arms slightly bent to the 10 to 2 position.
So if you have a bad back, are there certain cars to look out for, certain cars to avoid that are not going to do you any good?
Well, yes, certainly cars vary, but nowadays there are not nearly as many bad ones as there used to be. But the better the car gets, generally now, the better the seat gets because of the expenditure on the varieties of adjustment available. The only problem is the more the adjustments, the more chances to get it wrong unless somebody shows you how to use it.
So would you use things like the lumbar support particularly? Are leather seats good or bad?
Leather is never the best choice. Cloth is always better because you don't slide around as much and it breathes more. As far as the lumbar support is concerned, that's one of the most exaggerated things of importance in a car because our lumbar spine varies least of all despite our size. And adjusting that is just so that you feel a pressure rather than pushing yourself forward with it. Otherwise you exaggerate this forward tilt of the pelvis, which is what causes so many problems.
What about seats like the bucket seats that you get in rally cars or sports cars, Recaro seats, things like that? Are they any good? I mean, they hug you very closely, but do they provide good back support?
They provide good back support for rally drivers, but they're not really for daily use. Firstly, if you have a bit of a back problem, getting in and out of any seat which has big bolsters on the side and large lumps that you get in over is actually quite uncomfortable and difficult. Equally, if you don't fit it well, if you're too large for it, it causes pressures where you don't need it. So the rally seat is very much designed for rallying and for a very specific job in driving. And the driving stance you take in those circumstances is also different. So they're not encouraged for normal use. There are makers like Recaro who do high quality orthopaedic seats, and they make some of their seats are not as good as others. But they do good seats, and they can be a beneficial change from a standard seat because of their adjustability. BMW have a contour seat and a comfort seat which has a shoulder support. Mercedes has an orthopaedic range, and a lot of vehicles have specialised seating ranges available which are generally better but of course more expensive than the standard seat.
What about things like the headrest? Do they make any impact onto it?
And no, that's all they should be used for is impact, in fact, because they are a head restraint, not a headrest, and they're there to prevent whiplash. They have to be adjusted properly so that the base is level with the base of your skull, but they actually don't affect your driving position. They shouldn't be used while you're driving.
Okay, Terry, that's very interesting. We'll now go outside and see how to set up that perfect driving position and hopefully to get rid of this.
Peter.
Terry, hello. All right. How you doing?
I'm very well. What are you doing?
Oh, not the back roll again.
Definitely the
I like
back
my
roll.
back roll. Look.
Take it out.
Yes, but look, I've been told that these back rolls are supposed to keep your back in perfect alignment, and it's supposed to keep the curvature, which is what we lack in most car seats.
Well, this doesn't know where your spine is curved. It moves up and down on the seat. There's no measurement of what you need in the way of support with this, and it's just much too invasive. It actually exaggerates your problem. So put the toilet around the toilet where it belongs.
All right, well, you show me what I should do. Here we go, the Vauxhall Omega. We've got all these controls here.
First thing is to take off that waistcoat, because wearing something, it ruckles up, it spoils the shape of the back of the seat, it can put pressure on you and ruins your jacket as well.
All right, I didn't think it made that much difference, to be honest, just a piece of clothing. But
the thicker it is, the worse it is.
Is it really?
Now you've got much better contact, the seat works better.
Okay.
Let's have a look at you first of all. Put your hands on the steering so your driving position.
10 to 2.
Let's just put you into memory there so that we know
Okay.
where you started out.
All right.
And I'll take you back thereafter. Now, firstly, if you press the accelerator fully down,
Okay.
you're actually moving up at the back here. Let it go again. And that means you're moving over the front of the seat, putting strain on the low back and giving yourself potential problems. I'm going to bring you forward a bit to start
Forward?
with.
Okay.
Yes. Now put your foot on the accelerator now and let it go. That's much better. So look at you for height. You're about right because you're about as high as you can go without touching the roof. Much too upright. That upright, gravity's pushing straight down through your back, all your weight's on your hips, and the shape of the seat isn't getting any pressure on it to make it work. And you're much more able to move around. So when you go around bends, your muscles have to hold you. When you brake, you come forward.
So I stress more.
So we're going to take you back. Put your hands on the wheel
The
again.
seat goes back again. Oh, I see. Okay, well, it's more comfortable there, but is that
that's
okay
right.
to drive?
Yeah, it is, because now you've got support all through. Your arms are just bent nicely at the 10 to 2 position. And you've actually let them relax, let the shoulders, that's it, and you've got a comfortable position. You've got support for the shoulder, support for the low back, and your legs are supported, but they're not leaving over the front of the seat.
That's
now,
true.
You've got a lumbar adjustment here, which you probably haven't used before.
I didn't know it was there, to be honest.
Well, there we are, right. Now, you tell me when you just feel the pressure.
Well, yeah, if I can feel a little bit there.
That's it, that's all you need.
Really?
Now you can see why I said that roll was a bit too aggressive.
If you're sure that'll keep my back okay.
Now, let's take you back to your old position, then you can see the change.
Okay, here's my old position again. Oh my God. The electrics do their work and the Omega, and I feel myself extremely cramped.
Now imagine your toilet roll in the back there.
As well. It's not a toilet roll, it's a back roll.
Lumbar roll, that's it, I always
My
get that
lumbar
mistaken. But that's, and you can see why you're actually really long-term making your problem worse.
All right, thank you, I'll give it a try. I'll let you know in a few weeks.
I'll come and check it when you've used it a bit. This is Terry Moule in the Granada car park, waiting to see if the proof of the pudding really is in the eating as far as seat comfort's concerned. Looking for Peter Baker. Now we shall find out. Hello, Peter.
Hello, you all right?
Yeah, I'm very well. How are you?
Well, I've got on all right, actually. You told me to get rid of my back roll, which I've had for years, especially for long journeys. You adjusted the seat of this Omega, so it was certainly different from as I had it before. And I've got on okay with it. I must admit, on some very long journeys, especially those to London and back, here in Manchester, I was tempted a few times to stick the old roll back in. But I did persevere, and I've had no spasms. The backache has almost gone away. So thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Now, the good thing is as well, it'll get better because now your muscles are starting to work more naturally. Your postural muscles will develop doing the right job. You'll get less and less pain, generally as well as in the car, and you'll be a happier and a safer driver.
Thank you very much. Hey, I've got a present for you.
Thank you.
My back roll. I won't need this anymore.
Thank you very much. And neither shall I.
Okay, so I'm not the next James Bond, but I'm still faced with a very important mission. If you've got 35 grand to spend on a car, it can be a pretty tough decision, and you only get one chance to get it right. But beware, because what starts out as a 35 grand car can soon end up costing you dear. If you fancy driving a Mercedes and you want some flash gadgets, like a stereo or air conditioning, it's all going onto the price. Before you know it, your budget's spiralling, you're cornered by the smooth-talking salesman and the bank manager's homing in. Yes, it's a rare thing to find a luxury car with all those little extras that you'd expect included in the price. And that's always been the big attraction of the Lexus. This is the latest Lexus, the new GS300. There are two models in the range, both featuring 3-litre engines. The only difference is the trim. This is the slightly more luxurious SE model, and it'll cost you £34,000 on the road. But in this case, you part with your cash, and you get a handsome list of equipment along with the car. 16-inch alloy wheels, a heated and electrically adjustable outside mirror, remote entry system, cruise control, electric steering column, dual air conditioning, electric passenger and driver's seat, front and side airbags, leather upholstery, headlamp cleaners and an electric sunroof. And if the car's in a rather good mood, it'll make you a cup of tea and do the ironing for you as well. So it's packed with equipment, but what's it like to drive? Under the bonnet you get a 3-litre straight 6 that feels very torquey thanks to the variable valve timing. And it's as quiet as anything, you can hardly hear it. The engine feels smooth and powerful every time you accelerate whatever gear you're in. And switch the 5-speed automatic gearbox into sports mode and you'll get up to 60 in a very respectable 8.5 seconds. The top speed is 143 miles per hour. Just perfect for those quick getaways. Yes, they may throw plenty of extras at the GS300. Wonderful gadgets to make your life as a driver easier, to take some of the stress away, to give you a real European driving experience. And they do give you lots and lots of equipment, far more than you'd get from any other manufacturer for the same money. But sometimes less is actually more. Lexus have filled the GS300 with loads of equipment, but they've forgotten to give it a personality of its own. This isn't the kind of car that you could become attached to, because at the moment, it's the spy who came in from the cold, when what you really want is a spy who loved me. Mission aborted.
Honda are to invest £450 million on their Swindon plant. They will build a second factory on the existing site. This will produce a new small car for Europe, boosting production annually to 200,000. SsangYong's UK importer have issued a writ against the marque's new owners Daewoo. They're claiming damages for anticipated loss of earnings over the remainder of their 5-year contract. Daewoo decided to market the SsangYong range through their own distribution network, thus dropping the existing franchise long before the original date of late 2002. In order to clear unsold stock, the 80-strong dealer network will embark on a dramatic sales drive. Obviously, this is a good time to buy if the quirky Korean off-roaders tickle your fancy. See you next week.